Belize, Central America, January 1994. Land Rover underwrites the first ever reproduction of a Maya artifact and its delivery to the site where the original once stood. The replica is transported atop the Discovery. Journalists from the North American automotive press document the historic occasion. The event marks the introduction of Discovery in North America. It is called La Ruta Maya, an expedition of discovery. Expeditions are tradition at Land Rover. For over 45 years, Land Rover vehicles have crossed the Sahara, tackled the dense jungle of the Darien Gap, traversed the Continental Divide in Colorado, and confronted every obstacle imaginable in the annual Camel Trophy adventure. This time, the expedition ventured deep into the kingdom of the Maya, searching for clues to its mysterious decline, driving a route called La Ruta Maya. The idea was conceived by Bill Garrett, former editor of National Geographic magazine. It is a 1,500-mile journey through 5 countries, showcasing a region rich with exciting opportunities for eco-tourists, travelers with a spirit for adventure, appreciation for people and their heritage, and a sensitivity for the balance between man and the environment. Along the way, jungle cabanas and mountain lodges complement the flavor of the adventure. You don't need an expedition to explore La Ruta Maya, nor is it necessary to drive the entire route to discover the intrigue of this part of the world. But one factor is certain. Many of the best sites are well off the beaten path, and the roads can become challenging, so the journey is best driven in a 4-wheel drive vehicle. Even though you may not seek the ultimate adventure, you own the same exceptional 4-wheel drive vehicle used by those who do. No matter where you drive, close to home or through Belize's Pine Ridge region along the Ruta Maya, the driving techniques are the same. We're going to demonstrate some of the principles explained in the owner's manual. A few apply anywhere. For instance, traveling in a caravan can be a lot of fun. But if that's not part of the plan, remember it's still good practice to travel with another vehicle. And it's a lot more enjoyable too. 4-wheel drive vehicles are taller than average passenger cars, and you must be aware of their physical size, particularly in tight situations and with overhead obstacles. When the terrain ahead looks particularly rough, get out and do some reconnaissance. Take a moment to investigate and plan the best route. The #1 Land Rover rule for off-road driving is local knowledge, all important. Grip the wheel firmly and keep thumbs clear of the spokes. A sudden kickback from large obstacles could cause injury. Follow the principles of the Tread Lightly program. Stay on the track and travel only where permitted. Thoughtless, irresponsible driving can damage the terrain and lead to closure of recreation areas. The safety considerations engineered into Discovery should not be taken lightly. Even though front passengers are protected with dual airbags, wearing seatbelts will provide maximum security. In emergency situations, the anti-lock braking system will prevent wheel lockup, meaning that when braking heavily, you can still maintain the ability to steer around obstacles. Discovery is part of the legendary Land Rover family of 4-wheel drive vehicles. Every Land Rover has a permanent 4-wheel drive system. This means it is always in 4-wheel drive. Its operation is not complicated, and learning the procedure is not difficult. 2 controls operate the system. A transmission lever, which controls the 4-speed automatic or 5-speed manual transmission, and a second lever, which operates the 2-speed transfer case for shifting between high and low range and locking the center differential. This provides 10 forward and 2 reverse gears with the manual, and 8 forward and 2 reverse with the automatic. There are specific transmission combinations which work best in different types of terrain. Knowing which ones to use will provide the best traction in a given situation. For instance, during the dry season, when the road to the Maya city of Caracol is smooth and dry, the differential should be unlocked, which is the right position. But tropical showers can happen at any time during the year. When the road surface becomes loose or slippery and traction may be reduced, lock the differential. This can be done at any speed. Let up on the accelerator, move the lever to the left. An amber light on the instrument cluster will indicate it's engaged. To unlock the differential, just move the lever to the right at any time. Remember to depress the clutch when shifting with the manual. Never lock the center differential on dry, paved surfaces, or premature tire and driveline wear will occur. When the terrain is rough or steep, the best way to drive through is in low range. To select low range, slow down to under 5 miles per hour. Shift the transmission to neutral. Move the transfer case lever to neutral. Just before the vehicle stops, shift into low range. Then shift the transmission back into the appropriate gear. Hold steady pressure on the transfer lever for a few seconds to make sure that low range is engaged. Shifting back to high range, use the same procedure. To shift to low range using a manual transmission, slow down to under 5 miles per hour or stop. Depress the clutch, shift to neutral, move the transfer case lever to low, shift to first and release the clutch. When it's time to shift back to high range, the vehicle may be moving slowly or stopped. Shift to neutral, release the clutch, depress it again, and shift to high. With a little practice, the shifting procedure should become quite familiar. When driving La Ruta Maya, be prepared for a variety of conditions. Near the Maya Mountains in hilly terrain, use low range. For climbing steep stretches, use third gear. Coming down, shift to first gear and rest your feet on the floor. In most situations, engine retardation will provide all the braking necessary to make a controlled descent. If it's necessary to slow down a bit, use the brakes lightly. Heavy braking is not required. One of the keys to successful off-roading lies in Discovery's superior coil spring suspension system, which helps to keep all four wheels on the ground to provide maximum traction when working through uneven terrain. To cross a ditch, shift to first gear. Approach it diagonally so that as you cross, you'll always have three wheels outside the ditch for better traction. Discovery's extremely long wheel travel helps keep all the wheels in contact with the ground as you work your way through. Use the same technique when crossing a log. Shift to first and approach it diagonally. Ease each wheel over slowly to give the crossing tire the best grip possible, while the other three wheels remain on the ground providing traction. Use the brakes to ease each wheel down slowly to prevent bouncing and maintain maximum clearance. Whenever driving off pavement, watch for obstacles which could damage the undercarriage of the vehicle. Remember, they're not always visible. Therefore, be aware of the vehicle's ground clearance at all times. The axle differentials are the lowest point, about 8 inches under the passenger side. The highest point is 11 inches under the driver. Hitting a rock at speed could damage the axle or differential. It's good practice to put the obstacle under you, the driver, to take advantage of the maximum clearance. When possible, try to avoid an obstacle by driving around it. But remember that the sidewalls are the most vulnerable part of the tires. Pick a path to keep them from rubbing, scuffing, and pinching. Clearance is also a factor whenever there's an acute change in the angle of terrain. Discovery's air dam and trailer hitch receivers must be considered. Ease up slowly and make sure no part of the vehicle touches the slope before the front wheels do. This is called the approach angle. Be certain that the departure angle allows the rear of the vehicle to clear completely too. Don't expect to find a bridge spanning every river. Water crossings may be frequent and tricky because the nature of the bottom and depth are not always apparent. Check to see that the bottom is firm and clear of debris and not deeper than 20 inches, which is about to the top of the wheel rim. Use third gear, low range, with a differential locked. Drive through, keeping a steady speed to avoid stalling if the exhaust pipe is underwater. Make a bow wave, but don't splash. This could saturate the electrical system and air intake. Once you're through, drive a short distance with a foot brake applied. You'll feel the brakes take effect once they've dried out. One of the most remote and unique attractions in Belize is Chanchich Lodge, a bird sanctuary amongst thousands of acres of tropical forest. The lodge sits in the middle of an ancient Maya plaza surrounded by unexcavated pyramids. Most tourists choose to fly in, but if you have a discovery, the drive is an adventure. Take the road off the Western Highway to Spanish Lookout, through the rolling hills of Mennonite farmlands. Choice of transportation here is a personal matter. Soon after the turn to Los Tambos, conditions may worsen, however, and perhaps are best left to the expedition drivers during the rainy season. It's a good idea to check with a lodge before attempting this approach. However, be prepared for muddy stretches at any time. Use third gear, low range. Follow the ruts and keep up the momentum using a steady throttle. It's easier to follow an established path than to push through a new one. If a wheel starts to lose traction, ease off on the throttle a bit until it regains a grip. Whenever you finish a stretch of off-pavement driving, take a moment to inspect the vehicle. Check the tires for damage and the undercarriage for any debris. Driving through the kingdom of the Maya is an exceptional adventure, but Discovery can take you to adventures anywhere. Here's an adventure staged by a Land Rover dealer. Actually, it's a hands-on instructional day exclusively for owners. And for the finer points, the Land Rover Driving Academy in Aspen, Colorado teaches advanced off-road driving technique. But it's not necessary to attend a course to learn basic driving techniques in order to have a great adventure. Just remember to read your owner's manual for more tips on off-road driving. Review the transfer case shifting procedure, particularly when you use the manual locking center differential. Low range, third gear is best for most off-road conditions, including hill climbs. Coming down, first gear, low range, using little or no braking. Let the engine do the work. The differentials are the lowest point of the vehicle. Place obstacles under you, the driver, for maximum clearance. Remember approach and departure angles. The wheels must touch before the air dam, and the rear must clear too. When crossing a ditch or log, cross with one wheel at a time. Know what you're driving through. Check the depth. Create a bow wave and avoid splashing. Follow the ruts, keep up the momentum, and avoid wheel spin. In time, the operation of your vehicle and off-roading techniques should become intuitive. Remember to respect the environment and use these new skills on every adventure. Whether it's close to home or along La Ruta Maya, Discovery's exceptional four-wheel drive capabilities provide outstanding opportunities to explore the natural world and discover the great achievements of mankind.